Well, good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock in Gardner. First Monday of the month, so that means City Council meeting, and we will call the City Council meeting to order. And I would invite everybody in attendance to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, everyone. Glad to see so many derrieres and seats. We don't always get that here, and it's always good to see it. I do notice that we've got some scouts in attendance. Those of you scouts, can you just stand up real quick? All right. Thanks, guys. Are we all here for the same merit badge, I would imagine? No? Okay, what are you guys here for?
They gotta step to the podium here, Nick.
Yeah.
I'm doing communication.
Okay. Yeah, those are the most back there. Okay, very good. Well, thank you for coming. I hope you find this all interesting. That's not always necessarily the case. We have no public hearings this evening, and we have no presentations. The next item on the agenda is public comments. Public comments are the time for members of the public to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. If you would like to make a public comment, I invite you to step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and I'm going to caution everybody that's here, we are not going to allow any profanity or personal attacks against anyone, neighbors in the community, city staff members, no personal attacks. And with that, please, we'll open the public comments. 5-minute limit on comments.
My name's Casey Dale. I live at 18404 Locust. I want to start off by saying thank you for moving the public comment section back up on the agenda. I'm not sure if there will be a long executive session tonight or not. For the last meeting, it would have been a long wait to speak if comments were after the executive session. I'm excited for the public discussion you said that we would have on the change in the agenda. I will definitely voice my opinion during that holding public comments after an executive session is just not fair to the public because those can go often quite late. Now, I've been attending city council meetings for a few years now. Sitting back there in the cheap seats, you start to notice some things. And what I've been noticing more and more is a lack of good leadership in this community. I've watched director after director leave our city. Most companies don't have that high turnover rates at their higher level employees. Chief is our second most senior director in the city and will have only been here 2 years this month. Why can we as a city not keep our higher level employees happy enough to stay? I look to their leader, and that would be Cheryl. Last week, I called City Hall to get Cheryl's email address. The first person I spoke to said she didn't have it. How do any of our city employees not have her email address? I assumed she just didn't want to get in trouble for not giving it out. I got transferred and spoke with Cheryl's assistant, Ann, and asked me why I would need it. I said I needed it to email Cheryl. And then she asked me, what would that email be about? And I said, City Matters. And she told me that I shouldn't email Cheryl. Instead, I should send any communications I would have through her because Cheryl was too busy to read the emails. I asked Ann if a citizen of Gardner, or as a citizen of Gardner, I'd not be able to email my city administrator. Finally, I was able to get the email address. Over 5 minutes on the phone just to get an email address. If that's what our directors have to deal with on a daily basis, no wonder they all leave. The reason I wanted her email was to point out the calendar on the city's website has been incorrect, and the agenda for the Parks and Rec Committee meeting were missing. The Parks and Rec Committee meeting didn't even show up on the city's calendar until 3 p.m. the day of the meeting. The agenda was not up until after their meeting. When I raised that concern, I was told that it had been Jeannie's job and it was getting handled. Several other items on the calendar were incorrect, so I felt like it was not getting handled. As a leader, it's Cheryl's responsibility to make sure each job is getting done properly, and that was not done. She left it to someone else to figure out, and we as citizens missed out on getting all the information that we needed in a timely manner. And by the way, thank you, Councilmember Winters, for your response to my email. And Cheryl might have been a little bit busy because I never heard back from her. And you stated, Cheryl, in our first Gardner U class that was just a couple weeks ago, that you wanted citizens to be more involved and to be more vocal. And that's really difficult to do when our emails aren't being responded to. Secondly, at the last meeting, there was an executive session, and one of our city council members attempted to call in and was told he was not able to do so. We have 5 council members, and each one should get a voice if they so choose. Councilmember Melton chose to call in because he was out of town on a trip that was planned well in advance and was denied. As a citizen, I don't like hearing that one of my elected leaders was barred from doing his or her duty. So I took a look at our city ordinance about calling into an executive session and found that it was not mentioned. I went on to the Kansas Attorney General's website and looked around. There in the FAQ section on COMA, it stated that calling into an executive session was allowed. Maybe I missed it, but if we don't have an ordinance that states that a city council member cannot call in, and the Kansas Attorney General states that they can, why was Member Melton not allowed to call in to that meeting? Lastly, I was here on January 3rd when our city's HR manager decided to use a time when a city council member called him up to answer a question to tell the city that trust in chief Bruting should be greatly reduced. The number one thing that our Human Resources Department strives to do, according to our own website, is to promote a culture that respects and values all employees. I don't think publicly saying that trust in our chief should be reduced shows that our chief or his department are valued employees. I emailed each council member and the mayor my feelings towards the outburst and got an overwhelming response that each one of our council members thought it was out of line and uncalled for. Mayor, you stated that it was a personnel issue that would be handled privately. He said those words in public. Where is his public apology? I was there. I deserve an apology for those words. If he's willing to say those things in public, then he should be told by his boss that he should publicly apologize. Why does an HR manager that would create such a hostile work environment still have a job with our city after a public outburst like that? That goes back to the leadership in the city. A city administrator...
Your time's up. Sorry.
I support our police department.
I think we've let other people go longer before.
I think we've...
I'll respect the time. I just want to say I support our chief and I support our police department.
Okay.
Thanks, Stacy.
Hi, my name is Bruce Hughes. I live at 322 East Colleen Drive here in Gardner. I'm rising to actually speak on the same general topic. The treatment that our chief endured in this forum, this public forum, was inexcusable. The fact that when he tried to defend himself, the leader of our city government, rather than shut down the guy who was attacking him, shut down the chief. That's inexcusable. And there are apologies owed. First of all, I apologize. On behalf of the citizens, I apologize for that treatment. It's disgusting and inexcusable. Secondly, the HR manager owes the chief a public apology. The HR manager of all people should know better than to sow dissent between departments. And that's exactly what he did. Cheryl, you owe the chief an apology. You are the manager of both the chief and that employee, and you said nothing. And that's wrong. It calls into question serious questions. The HR manager's suitability for that role, you just can't do it. No company would have allowed that. Third, Chris, you owe a general apology on behalf of the city to the chief, and you owe it publicly. All of these should be public. The berating he took was public. It was in this chamber. Secondly, you owe a second apology on behalf of yourself for shutting him down instead of shutting down the attack. I note that you said at the beginning of these comments you'd allow no attack, personal, on city employees or other citizens. But you allowed it last time. You sat there and said nothing. Lastly, this city council, the other members of the governing body, collectively and individually, you owe an apology to the chief, and you owe it here. Not on social media, I think it's great. Not personally, again, that's great, but you owe an apology here. That's all I got to say.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Hickman. I'm no longer a citizen of Gardner. I live at 19401 West 200th Street in Spring Hill. But by the end of the year, I hope to be a small business owner in the city of Gardner. So that's made me actually continue to take a look at Gardner and what I see happening. And quite frankly, something's off. Something's not quite right. When you see on the city's YouTube site a meeting where a manager is allowed the freedom to talk to another director in the manner that was, he would not have survived in the corporate world, folks. Wouldn't have survived in the corporate world. It's been my experience in the corporate world that when you have a line level manager or an employee like that who feels comfortable and confident and has those words readily available, then in a lot of cases they're speaking what they've heard from their higher-ups. They're parroting, and I hope that's not the case. Chief Pruitting is a wonderful, wonderful addition to our community. On the department that he leads, we should be very, very proud of. Very proud. If I'm going to invest my money and my time in the city of Gardner, which I love Gardner, then you know what? I'm going to be involved again, so I'm back. I want to make sure that I protect my interests in the city of Gardner. Thank you very much for listening to me. And Chief, wonderful job. You and your department are top-notch.
Hi, Doug Gilbert, 764 South Sumac, Gardner. I just want to thank the chief for the improvements in the police department that are very visible. I walk my dog from 2 to 5 miles almost every night on the south side of Gardner. I've had a chance to see his officers' interactions with the public, stopping to talk to the kids, stopping to talk to people. I'm out there in a snowstorm walking my dog. They stop, make sure I'm okay. So that community interaction is priceless. I spent 12 years as a reserve deputy in Iowa. I know what community relations can do for a department. Also, as the owner of a Little Red Mustang with a decade of Chicago driving habits, I've had a couple of instances to directly interact with the officers of Gardner, and I must say I appreciate their decorum and their professionalism. So, once again, thank you for what you have done for this city. Also, as a person who gives back to their community by volunteering for many organizations, the growing animosity between the city administrator and functional departments, areas of this community, it's risen past the point of hearsay or scuttlebutt It's real, and it needs to be resolved. And I urge the council to take action. Having been involved in citizen movements to remove public officers and officials in other communities, it can end two ways. It can end in a very beneficial manner, mutual benefit to all, or it can end very badly. And I urge the council to take action before it has to end badly. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
My name is Justin Villarreal. I live at 31774 West 167th Terrace. I'm here to speak on behalf of James Pruding, Officer Chief James Pruding. I've worked with Jim now for 4.5 years. I laugh at you guys who don't respect him. I've known him for what I do on the side. This is a part-time job that James Pruding does for me. Most respected man, and I bring up my industry only because I speak for myself, but not my company. I work for MLB. This guy's the most respected man in MLB. And I have a problem with some of you guys. I've watched this go down since you people started talking. Your heads are down, the ones that are disinterested, and you guys don't care. And it's evident who I'm talking about. It's time for you guys to pay attention, for one. I know Jim, very respected. And for me, I don't come to these things. This isn't my platform. But I think it's time you guys shake it up, take responsibility and own what happened, and move forward. But if you move forward without Jim, I can promise you I bring some tax dollars to this town, we'll be going somewhere else. I just want to make sure that's clear. And if you guys need to talk to me about it, you can find me. But I appreciate Jim. I can tell you one thing, I've never seen this. In this day and age with police, when's the last time you guys seen a positive comment on a public forum? Just out of curiosity, anybody? Let's just be serious. I mean, have you seen it? Tell me you have. Where?
Actually, generally...
Besides a police officer's
Sir?
family.
Hey, sir?
Yes.
You know, I'm going to ask you to keep your...
Absolutely.
Watch your tone.
Yep.
Okay? I'm going to say that this is a time for public comments. Because you don't usually come, you don't realize...
Well, I'll come every time.
This is... Well, sir, I didn't interrupt you. And there's a reason for that. This is our opportunity to listen to the public. We don't answer questions during public comments. And that...
Do I turn around and ask them? Should I ask
For anybody
the
else...
public?
Well, I mean... I'm trying to run a nice civil meeting here.
I am too, and I'm not trying to get, I'm
Okay.
not trying to belittle. I apologize.
And honestly, I got Boy Scouts in the audience. I would like...
Yeah,
to keep
absolutely. Respectfully, I apologize for taking it off track a bit.
Okay.
But here's my thing. You guys, if you guys haven't seen this, we have cops on bikes, if I'm not mistaken. Did we have that before he got here? I don't think so. I mean, his interaction with the community, I mean, this guy was decorated at Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. This isn't just some guys you guys picked up off the street. This is a very decorated officer who has family, generations of police officers in his family. So I just ask for you guys, city administrators, council members, to take the time to respect what you have here. And if not, I mean, I feel bad for Jim for this sake. After what I saw, I'd never been here. I saw that video. That is absolutely embarrassing for everybody involved. That is embarrassing. I pay tax dollars, and we got a guy running out off his mouth like that publicly, no reprimand, no nothing. I'd be out of a job. Most of us would be out of a job. So I'm going to close it at that. Apologize for derailing it a bit. But I think we all need to take a step back and realize how much of a great job Jim Pruding's done here. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else?
My name is Norm Schutte, 889 East Lanesfield Street. I too saw the YouTube video, and it was kind of dismayed me to observe that, and that nothing seems to have really been done about it. Maybe you have, and I don't know about it. Maybe you're about to, and I don't know about it. But I would say that something needs to be done. That was totally inappropriate. I'm on the Police Advisory Committee, and I totally support the chief. He's done some really good things here for us. He takes an interest in what he does. Not everybody does that. It's not just a job. He takes an interest in it. He cares about the people in the city and doing a good job. So I would say that I just wanted to give support to the chief, and hopefully this you guys will do something appropriate about what's happening.
Thank you, Norm.
Randy Gregorczyk, 620 East Hawthorne, Gardner, Kansas. Like Casey, I was here at that meeting as well. And I want to thank her for putting together the pins as a lot of folks entered. I also want to thank Councilman Moore for calling everybody's attention to the support that the chief has earned and deserves at the end of the day. I visited with the chief before this brouhaha, a couple of weeks after he was hired on, and first impressions are exactly that. And those impressions have held true. And I think we need and should continue to support the chief. I think each of you elected officials should continue to support the chief. But I think you do have a decision on the horizon. If you look at the trend, we've had 2 and 3 deep turnover at the directive level. Now, Chief Kenny Francis passed away. I attended that funeral, and may he rest in peace. But since then, we've had turnover at that position, not due to death. And we need to take a look at the trends and take a look at the constant. And I would suggest you guys give this a long, hard look, maybe meet about that in executive session, and understand what you're willing to do to change the course of this current situation that we're in. In closing, I would like to agree with everybody that stood before me. I think each of you as elected officials and elected leaders had the opportunity on January the 3rd to stand Alan down. At the end of the day, that was uncalled for. But all of you had the opportunity to do that, not just Cheryl. Cheryl, you also had the opportunity to stand him down. And I think that was completely disrespectful of the chief, and it was just a disrespecting situation to be in. This has got a lot of attention, both local and non-local, outside of our community, and that's not the attention that this fully elected council needs. We need to stay focused on what you guys were elected to do and perform and move down the road and get this community back in the saddle versus this type of brouhaha. And many of you know what I'm referring to. So I appreciate the time and look forward to some change in the near future. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Brett Courtright, 639 South Oak. I got a couple things. Leadership can be described as the ability of an individual to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute toward the effectiveness and success of an organization or a group of which they are members. A person who can bring about change, therefore, is one who has the ability to be a leader. That's from Wiki Educator Online. To me, this describes Chief Pruding and the Gardner Police Department. I ask you all to look at yourselves and those in leadership positions and other departments of this city and decide if they have that too. People call this city blazing new trails. How can you blaze new trails with no vision or leadership? I want to know what your vision is for the city. What's the vision of the people of this city? And if you have no vision, only to close Gardner off from the rest of the world, I ask, what type of leadership is that? If your vision is to be the mockery of this county, what type of leadership is that? I stand with the city of Gardner. I stand with a vision of prosperity and happiness. And I stand with good leaders like the chief. And I ask those in leadership positions to seek advice from people like the chief, not reject him. Thank you.
Anyone else? With no one else coming forward, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a council member that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
I'd like to remove item 1.
Second.
No real motion.
That, no, there's a second, but
Sorry, I was looking for a chance to talk.
that's okay. If there's no one else removing any other items, I would council like to proceed on items 2 through 8.
Go on.
I move we approve items 2 through 8.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Shute, that we approve items 2 through 8. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Consent agenda 2 through 8 passes. Consent agenda item number 1. Lee, questions?
In the previous meeting where we decided to table these minutes, I handed out a list of problems that we had with or that I had with the minutes as they were recorded, and it appears that the minutes were recorded or were corrected almost verbatim, word for word, with one exception, and that is where the HR manager, Mr. Abramovitz, expressed his I don't remember what the actual words were in the revised minutes, but his words exactly were, so the trust, and I'm saying this to all the directors here, that you should have in your chief of police, because he has done this, should be greatly reduced. Those words are not in the minutes, and they should be. This is this is the public record. It's on the video. I put that in my in my very detailed rewrite of the previous minutes. I think the minutes should reflect what was said here. That was a very poignant part of the meeting. It was a very important exchange between individuals, and it should be represented as such.
Just look at all the people that are here because of it, and it's not in the minutes. It's not reflected correctly.
That's all I have.
I would agree, it should be in there if it's not in there.
I think the longer it goes without being in there, it creates more attention to it. I think we need to get it in there.
I have a feeling that this item of the consent agenda is going to pass if we agree to include the passage that Councilmember Moore just mentioned. So, with the additions, I would entertain a motion for consent agenda item number 1.
I make a motion to approve this consent agenda item number 1 as amended by the body.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Moore, that we pass agenda item, consent agenda item number 1. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Consent agenda item number 1 passes. New business item number 1. Consider extension of the Utility Advisory Commission appointment process. As it turns out, we're one person short on, one applicant short. We're gonna need another 30 days. And that's pretty much all there is to that. I see, Utility Advisory Committee, Commission member, Clint Barney in the back of the room, and I know he's going to be coming in for an interview shortly. But we're still gonna have to look for somebody else, so.
Well, can I make a comment real quick on this? We've got 80 people in this room right now? We need 2 more.
One
Or one more, well, at least 1 more, but I'd like to see 2 more. If you have an interest in serving your city in terms of how the direction of our utility is managed,
we would really, really strongly suggest that you stand up and apply. I'll tell you right now, if you're the only one that applies, you're in. So, it's probably the easiest appointment that you'll ever get.
Not always the case.
Sometimes it's not only the case, but 90% of the time, it's the case. So please consider that.
And I have served on that committee myself in the past, and it's very, very interesting, what it takes to make the utilities work. And it doesn't take a whole lot of, take a whole lot of expertise. We just need your brain and your ability to think critically.
So, that being the case, I would entertain a motion for new business item number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Shute, that we approve the extension of the Utility Advisory Commission appointment process for 30 days until March 29th, 2017. And all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? New business item number 1 passes. We've had our challenges with order on the agenda. We are going to have an executive session this evening. We are supposed to have council updates just above the executive session. As it turns out, upon further review, we realized that we'd had them ordered incorrectly. Not exactly sure how long. And so we're going to move on to council updates at this point. And we'll start with, does staff have anything for council? Gonzalo, you have anything? Okay. Scott Gary.
Just want to let everybody know we have coffee with the director Wednesday morning over at the Senior Center at 7:15 a.m. Informal discussion, come and talk, chat about things going on and events and programs and things going on in Parks and Recreation.
Very good. Thank you, Scott. Larry?
Would just like to inform the council, we've had, the last 3 months have been fairly busy with businesses that have been looking at different locations in town. We haven't had it on the Planning Commission agenda because it didn't need anything from the Planning Commission, but most people may have noticed some work going on at the old Circle K convenience store on Moonlight. Mr. Bill George, who owns the Olathe Kia facility, is in the process of renovating that facility, and we have issued his building permit to him, so he's in the process of renovating that, and he'll be opening a car sales facility in that location later this year. So
now, is that used cars or new and used?
it will be it'll start used cars. He hopes to move some new cars down here later in the year, but it'll start out as a used car facility. Yes, sir.
Yeah, with all these people in attendance, I'd love to have you confirm a whole bunch of rumors that are floating around, but I know that you can't. So.
Well, we have one that's been going through the Planning Commission.
Well,
It's already through.
Yes, we do have something. So, we'll be seeing that shortly. Michael.
Yeah, I've got a couple of items. The first one's pretty quick. We have the Streets Committee tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock at the Senior Center. And then the second one's actually an issue regarding Waverly Road, and I'd like to get the council's consensus on the issue and, some direction moving forward. And basically, I've been talking with both Johnson County Public Works and the City of Edgerton. And Johnson County Public Works has been planning, as part of their asphalting, their annual maintenance projects of paving Waverly Road from US 56 to south to the railroad tracks. So about 1,500 feet they're looking at paving. And of course, south of the tracks, the city of Gardner has half of that road right of way, and the city of Edgerton has half of that road right of way. And this was a conversation actually started prior to me even with Brian, but the county is willing to increase the thickness of asphalt from 6 to 12 inches to make a better road for the location if Gardner and Edgerton are willing to pay that cost imprint. They're also willing to extend the project, from the railroad tracks south to, the bridge approach there. Again, if Gardner and Edgerton take care of the cost on that. The county believes it's an important project, and, you know, they've had plans to do this and to pave it regardless, from the tracks to the highway, regardless of what Edgerton and Gardner do on the issue. Right now, today I talked with the county engineer, and they're holding off a little bit on that decision based on what Gardner and Edgerton decide, and the county thinks it's really important from a safety aspect. It's a gravel road that currently has too much traffic on it for a gravel road. The tracks themselves, the approaches would be improved with it. There'd be some improved radiuses at 56 and Waverly Road. So we agree with the county and think it would be a good improvement. We'd like to see the roadway improved and like to see the additional thickness. The city of Edgerton has said right now, you know, they don't want to participate. I'm unsure at this time. They haven't communicated directly with me, other than to say they have some safety concerns and they're not willing to participate. But I don't know if it's fully just safety or is it because of dollars. What are all the issues? So basically what I'm here asking for tonight is kind of a consensus that you all would like me to, at least for the time being, continue to pursue this avenue of improving the roadway. Staff agrees that it's important to our community and future development and such that we move forward, and it's a cost-saving opportunity for getting that roadway improved as well.
Michael, I've got one question about this, and that is, when you've talked with the county planners on that particular intersection, we know that the angle is weird. It's a very a dangerous intersection for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
I don't think that would necessarily influence Edgerton's decision because they don't own any part of that intersection. But the question I've got is are there any plans on the part of the county to realign that intersection and make it more of a 90-degree intersection rather than the way it is now, which is a right turn from the west is
Sure.
not a good thing right now.
There's no plans on realigning or making it come in at right angles, but they would be improving the radiuses so that, a car could make a little bit faster turn, if you will.
What about a dedicated truck?
And a truck would have more room to turn for the swing. Now, in regards to the realignment, KDOT's corridor study shows that intersection on the exact same alignment that it's on right now. So in the future, what the corridor study has is additional lanes on Highway 56, and then also, in the distant future, then possible signalization. But, those things at this time, probably aren't warranted based on the existing traffic. But that, in regards to the angle itself, it's set to stay the same.
Would we be able to eliminate some of the danger just by signage and some kind of traffic calming as it gets closer to the intersection?
Possibly, but, again, we're improving the safety of it by converting it from a gravel to a paved surface. Coming up to US 56 on the paved surface, you're able to stop quicker. Your transition and your grades over the railroad would be improved. So, the county has convinced us that, it's a safer alternative than what's there now.
Well, I think almost anything's safer than what's there now. That's, you get the gravel underneath your wheels, and I think Steve's right about the turn coming from where it is, but also coming off Waverly, heading north, and then trying to go west on 56 is
And
Seems like that would be a tough one to make too.
And the cost so far, what we've talked about with the county, and the county is too willing to, they've surveyed it all, they've done all the preliminary design work, and they're willing to do all of the design work and administer the project and everything. And right now, the total cost shared between Edgerton and Gardner, and, we haven't looked at how we might split that up or anything, but it's about $175,000, and so it's, fairly small.
Yeah.
For what you get.
I'm okay with continuing to move in that direction.
Absolutely.
Well, I am too. I understand that Edgerton is not interested in participating at this time, but perhaps we can.
Not that they wouldn't benefit from the project, right?
Yeah. Larry?
Yes, sir.
Is this something, I know we've got to make sure that we have paving done by a certain time frame for the Heartland Farms people, for the 2 million square foot of warehouses that want to, annex and be developed into the city. Are they asking for 12-inch thick?
The original request, sir, from them and what we're working on through the development agreement is that the road be improved to be able to handle normal truck traffic. And so the additional 6 inches of asphalt, along with what the county is originally proposing, what they're putting down by themselves, is very adequate and will handle the truckload that would normally be traveling that road just like on a regular highway. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, maybe we can get somebody from county planning and public works and our friends in Edgerton and our staff here in the same room, see if we can come to some kind of accommodation. You think you might be able to do that, Michael?
Yeah, I hope so. And yeah, again, I was just looking for some guidance and direction.
Consensus of council, and I was just taking, a glancing temperature. It seemed like everybody was in favor. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's
All right.
on me.
Oh, man.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Chief?
Yeah, I just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody that showed up, on my behalf and on behalf of the police department, or came up and expressed that, support at the mic. We don't take it for granted, I promise you. We work hard to reach out and engage with the community, and your support's important to us, so thank you for coming.
Anything from the city clerk's seat? No? Finance?
No.
City administrator, not in the right spot. I'm looking at you and I'm seeing the city attorney placard up. Anything, Cheryl? No? Legal? Council members, for staff, for the good of the order, Rich?
I'm gonna take this off so you
Really?
guys cover yourselves. So, right. At least I warned you, right? So I had a question about Safe Defend. We got a presentation from them a few months back, and I was wondering what's going on with that, because I haven't really seen anything.
I've been in contact with them. We have to do, there was no criteria that met the sole source.
Okay.
So I have to send it out for a bid. I'm working on that now.
Okay. I would like to say too, I'm sorry, Chief, I didn't even think about jumping in because that's the mayor's job, but I'm sorry that happened, so. Real quick, to Ryan, can you show me the statute that says that I couldn't call in on executive session?
There's no statute. The policy that for all the cities that I represent is that, and in fact, I think a lot of the city attorneys around the state is that they do not allow members to participate.
Where is that statute? I mean, for us, the
Can I
policy.
finish?
Yeah.
They don't allow individuals to participate in executive session by phone because the purpose of executive session is to maintain confidentiality. And if there are individuals, when you have people in the room, you can ensure and demonstrate who in fact is there and participating. When you have an individual on the phone, you have an open line and you cannot ensure who's on the other end. It also jeopardizes, the attorney-client privilege, because if you can't, you as an attorney can't demonstrate that you knew who all participants were to the conversation, then if a third party who is not a representative of the city is listening by phone, then the privilege and the legal advice that is rendered, then no longer loses its privilege, and so that's the basis for why I do that. All the municipalities I represent, I've taken the same position. Municipalities who I represent as outside counsel, as well take that position, and so that's the reason why.
So we don't have an ordinance that states, under no circumstances can it happen?
No.
Okay. I think that was a big problem because, I think, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the rest of the governing body was probably a little shocked by that. I would hope they are, because we all travel for a living. So I really, yeah, I believe you're calling into question my honor when you say I can't be trusted to tell someone that I'm in a room by myself, not to mention I finally got a call from the mayor on Friday to update me on what happened in that phone call, or in that executive session. That call lasted 14 minutes total. The first 4 minutes were, sorry I couldn't get to you. There was 6 minutes of what happened in a 2.5-hour executive session, and then 4 minutes of, hey, I've been to Vegas, and all the other stuff we talked about, all over the phone. So I find it really hard to believe that the mayor can call me with all this over the phone, never asking me who's in the room with me, never asking me if I'm by myself on speakerphone or anything. I have a real problem with that. And I think the rest of the governing body should too. I think that you decided on your own to make that a policy without checking with everyone else, as far as I'm concerned. So, the other thing I've got several things. On the agenda, I sent the mayor an email about the agenda and how it was out of order. And this is the email, and it says that you all briefly talked about it at the meeting last week. Of course, I wasn't here, and so I watched the video again. And in no time did the meeting minutes get talked about that I'm aware of. Can you explain that, Mayor?
The agenda, you mean?
I'm sorry?
The agenda, you mean, not the meeting.
Yeah, the agenda, moving the public documents. Can you explain, if it didn't happen up here, when did it happen? Because your email says, let's see, the rest of the council heard about this briefly at the last meeting.
This was brought up ever so briefly, as I mentioned in my email, as it related to another personnel matter that we were discussing, and there were several that evening. It was bordering on being off topic, and actually the city attorney stopped us from discussing it any further, but...
So it happened in executive session?
Yes, that's correct.
There's no votes taken in executive sessions, last I heard.
We don't take votes in executive session.
So you moved this item on your own, then, is what you're telling me, without the consent of the governing body?
We didn't take public action on it.
Right. So I'm glad it got moved back. I think the citizens are too. Also, on our January 3rd meeting, you stated that you had a group of people that were willing to come on November 21st, and they had that meeting scheduled with, I think it was Sheriff Denning and a handful of other people. Is that correct?
It's correct.
Who were the other people?
Mike Press, Ken Sissom, and Terry Norwood with NPR.
On October 28th, I emailed or Facebook messaged Sheriff Frank Denning and asked him to give me a call because I was trying to get him here since I hadn't heard anything from you about this meeting. Do you know what date that was on when you met with Sheriff?
Actually, Mike Press was coordinating schedules for everybody to get them in the room at the same time instead of doing it myself. I asked Mike if he could help make that happen. He
You know what the
agreed.
date was?
Not right off the top of my head, sir.
The only reason I ask is because I actually got a call. I mean, sheriff called me later that day on, 10/28. I explained to him that I was trying to do some stuff, and with his background, I really wanted to have his input on what was going on, pros, cons, whatever. He informed me on that date that on November 21st, he was not able to make it to that meeting. And that no way could he get his entire presentation ready for that meeting. And that he told you that. Is that true?
Well, I'm not one that would ever call Sheriff Denning a liar, but I don't recall at any time him saying he wasn't going to be able to make the November 21st meeting. Chance that maybe he's told Mike Press that, but we had other people that were scheduled to appear at that meeting. They're going to be here the next council meeting, actually the work session before the council meeting. You can ask them at that time.
I'd like to introduce a resolution to censure Mayor Morrow for chronic and blatant misrepresentation of the facts to the governing body and the citizens of Gardner, Kansas. Whereas Chris Morrow was elected mayor April 2nd, 2013, and whereas Mayor Morrow has repeatedly misled the governing body and the citizens of Gardner, both in council chambers and executive session. Whereas the city acknowledges that Mayor Morrow has legal right to retain his seat. As mayor, he should be sensitive to ethical questions posed by his actions. Whereas Mayor Morrow, in his capacity as sitting mayor, should realize that he needs to be present all information requested to the governing body and to the citizens in an honest, truthful manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the governing body of the city of Gardner, Mayor Morrow hereby censured for the conduct deemed detrimental to the governing body. And actually, he went ahead and went to Robert's Rules of Orders and printed out the censure portion, removing the part that was specifically about removing someone from office. Apparently, the city clerk will need to take a straw poll.
Do we have a copy for the city attorney?
I can give him mine.
Could we just go down the timeline one more time?
Yeah.
Right. So, on October 28th, I sent this message to Frank Denning. He informed me at that time that that he could not make the November 21st meeting because there was not enough time to get his stuff in order. The other thing I find ironic about this is I'd asked for this, we all asked for it, first in July and then in August. And it took until October to start getting people together, just to have a meeting about it. So that's, and then we were told on January 3rd, it was the governing body's fault for not being available that these people weren't able to make it.
Those people were able to make it. It's a lack of quorum in the governing body.
That's your word, I guess. I don't know anymore.
Well, I honestly, we've got a text message to Sheriff Denning and your word that the sheriff called you. I take you at your word, but
it's up to the governing body now. They can do what they like. So.
What do we do?
We need a motion. Right.
Well, we don't even have a resolution number right now. What would be the resolution number if this comes to a vote? Kind of got caught by surprise.
well, and I do see that we've got a censure motion here. It says from Robert McConnell Productions. I don't know that that's part of the official Robert's Rules of Order.
That's what came up.
This is, we discussed a censure previously, when Councilmember Fodovich was here, and, apparently maintaining dual residence. The advice we got from legal counsel at that time was that it's more involved than simply presenting a resolution, but I don't recall the particulars.
Can I ask, what does a censure exactly mean?
A reprimand, basically what a censure is.
It's effectively corrective action.
but we default to Robert's Rules of Order, when it's not addressed in the governing body rules of procedure.
Is there anything in censure in the rule of procedure right now?
No.
So we are defaulting to Robert's rules?
It would be under Robert's Rules of Order.
Well,
So
Rob-
sorry, you caught me somewhat flat-footed, didn't know this was coming. I'd have to go back and revisit Robert's Rules to...
Well, my understanding is that a censure resolution can get brought for any reason, under Robert's rules.
It's been, the last time I looked at it, and the only time I've ever looked at it, was when Mayor Morrow referenced, the situation with Councilmember Fodovich, and I do recall at that time, I looked at the process and provided some guidance on that. I don't have those materials with me.
I thought it was a semi-judicial procedure that required a public,
I think, I think that's right, but I don't wanna say, there is
It was much more...
sort of a due process,
Right.
element to it, rather than just raising a resolution. My best recollection, but again, I would prefer to revisit that issue.
I think you do say as semi-judicial, there is a chance for the potential person to be censored or censured to respond to the allegations and to bring defense, just like in a trial.
Yes.
I mean, would it be possible for us to table this? So that could be
So that we
put on an agenda?
we
and-
could get legal advice as to how to proceed?
I mean, I'm just...
I'm not...
I'm not ready to vote on this tonight. Not without
legal counsel.
or the process provisions of the censure.
well, and I mean,
Yeah.
quite frankly, I mean, if we're censuring because of,
A politician lies?
well, no, because of a,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
of somebody.
I mean, really,
Well-
of something that is happening with a presenter who isn't here to really explain. I mean, I would like to hear that as well, so, I mean,
we could get Sheriff Denning here to corroborate, or other individuals.
Or he could even just...
He's still in the
send an email,
hospital, so.
Or
huh?
he doesn't have to be here in person. I mean,
Yeah,
unless the contact
And
is
I do not know if he's going to make it to the February 20th meeting. Sheriff Denning
He
had
started,
quadruple bypass surgery,
Yikes.
last month,
yeah, he started,
early last month.
exercises today.
Okay,
Guess we'll table it?
I'd like to make a motion to table this resolution. To next meeting.
Motion, second more, that we table, this resolution. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Item is tabled.
That's all I got.
Councilmember Moore?
Can I get a volunteer Boy Scout to help me with something?
Come on. Is this a... Okay. Oh, I see why, this thing's gigantic. All right.
What this young man is handing out, and let me first start off by,
Thanks, dude.
by offering my sincere apology, for my part in the, events that happened on January 3rd. Obviously, like probably the rest of the governing body, I was stunned to silence. And, it took me a couple days to process what happened. Okay, so anyway, it took me a couple days to kind of figure out how to process that and what to do about it, and needless to say, I wasn't happy with the outcome, and and I wasn't happy with the the actions that were taken by the HR manager. So, kind of did what I thought was the best thing I could do, is to ask the citizens what they think of our chief of police. And I have here 51 responses, not just short little emails like I asked for. A lot of them are letters. And you'll note in the copy that I gave out, the very first one is from our superintendent of schools, Pam Stranathan, USD 231, and I'd like to read that one into the record. Obviously, I can't read all of these, and I don't know that the citizens that provided me with these would like me to read them necessarily, but I want to say thank you for that show of support. It meant a lot. I know it means a lot to the chief. Without further ado, I'll just go ahead and read this one. It says, Chief Pruiting, just a short note to thank you for your continued partnership with USD 231. Oftentimes, a wall grows between governmental and private entities, causing difficulty to move in the right direction. Sometimes that wall grows to the point of no return. Since your employment with the City of Gardner, this once growing wall has gradually crumbled. It goes without saying, Gardner Edgerton is fortunate and proud to call you and your department champions of USD 231. I appreciate the increased open communication that has developed between the school district and the police department over the past 18 months. The additional school resource officer has made our buildings safer, and the community has noticed your efforts. I greatly appreciate your diligence in working together as a team and value the professionalism and leadership you have brought to the Gardner Police Department. Again, thank you for all you do for the staff and students of USD 231. Sincerely, Pam Strath. So, with that, and the rest of these, I wish I could give everybody a copy of these, so you could all read them. A lot of them will put a lump in your throat. I know they did me when I was reading through them. I've been here 12 years. I've seen our department grow over the 12 years. I've seen some tremendous changes in the last 3 years, starting with Chief Cullenber, who I thought did an outstanding job. It was very sad to see him go, but I was very happy to see him replaced with Chief Pruiting. And I've seen some outstanding things in our community. I mean, we have a canine unit. We have cops on bikes. We have kids getting tickets for doing good things, and really good community outreach. And I wanted to make sure that that did not go unrecognized, and that effort and those things overshadow what happened here in this chamber on January 3rd. So that's all I have. Christy?
I have a couple of things. First, I had, this is really just to bring up an issue that was brought to my attention that I really just kind of want council consensus one way or another, whether we want to pursue it. I had someone who operates some farmland within the city limits. He was representing multiple farmers that operate within the city. He received a ticket, leaving or coming in the city, whatever. He was not on the truck route. They're exempt within the city from being on the truck route. However, they're not exempt leaving or coming into the city. He reached out to me and asked if we would pursue a farm exemption, local farmer exemption to the truck route. Specifically, this deals with 191st Street, which we've all had conversations is already deteriorating because of truck traffic, but that is the quickest route for them to get to the grain elevator, so that is the specific route that we're talking about in this case. I have talked to Larry. One of the things that he brought up was that there were, or potentially some other municipalities that had some exemption. Larry couldn't find any, I don't know if he did since, we met, but he and, Michael and Chief have all been, pretty helpful trying to pull together what our options are, because whatever it is, it needs to be easy for the police department to be able to enforce one way or the other. So I don't know if you guys wanna talk about anything before we decide if it's something we should look at. Anyone?
Great, thanks.
Okay, as Christie said, when they're inside the city limits, they have an obligation to go to the closest truck route. When we're talking about 191st, what's problematic there is not only that it's not a heavy haul road, but the amount of traffic that goes in and out from the businesses makes it very difficult to maneuver. And exceptions are bad policy when it comes to policing. I mean, if we have to pull people over and, you know, we're trying to figure out if they're in town, if they're from out of town, and really the difference, what we're talking about is taking the route to Homestead, it's about 3 miles farther. That's what they're trying to cut off. If they go the Homestead route, they have to go an additional 3 miles. So the trade-off is, you know, we can have them keep going to Homestead for the additional 3 miles, or we put trucks on 191st Street, which, depending on the time of day, I mean, creates hazards for people, it deteriorates the road, and then, again, we have to create exceptions for Gardner farmers, which, you know, ideally we could do, but, you know, then you're pulling people over, you're trying to determine where they're from, the address, whether the truck's registered in Gardner, you know, if we could give them a permit or something, but really what we're talking about is 3 miles out of the way.
Question I have on that, Chief. We've actually talked in these chambers in previous meetings about the issues that we have right now at 191st and Center, or Gardner Road. You know, any truck traffic on that road right now is potentially very dangerous proposition because of the fact that the employees at Amazon and Jet and some of these other large distributors that are on that road are using that as an entrance and exit. I know that if a truck is going south on Gardner Road and trying to make a right-hand turn onto 191st Street, and that's got a pretty good radius, you're still swinging into that left lane into the outbound side of that, you know, and I've seen traffic get backed up. I've seen near accidents happen with that. I mean, personally, I'm sensitive to the concerns of the folks that are, you know, farming land in Gardner and want to be able to get as quickly to the grain elevators as possible. I mean, any truck traffic going down that road at this point, because it hasn't been improved, is causing problems, and I would not be in favor of an exemption.
And it's taken a lot of work to get the trucks off there. I mean, that's the shortest route, and I think GPS still takes them down 191st Street. So it took a lot of work and persistence to get them off 191st Street.
Now, that's my thoughts. I mean, we look at consensus, but...
No, I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if it's 3 miles, I mean, that's, you know.
Okay. Looks like we got it. Christie, anything else? Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I have a couple other things. I do want to talk about Rich's point about executive sessions and not being able to dial in that night. And I mean, not that anything's in writing, but I will say past precedent has been, Steve and I and Todd have both been, well, Todd not so much, but Steve and I have both been impacted, is that we have had public discussions and we have said that that we were not going to allow remote access to the executive sessions. I haven't attended one, Steve hasn't attended one, so not that we can't change that, not that we can't say, hey, listen, we want to re-look at that, but I personally wasn't surprised when, you know, it was recommended that member Melton not be allowed to participate because it has been standard practice in the past, so I will just say that. Big Bull Creek, one of the agreements that we have with the City of Edgerton regarding Big Bull Creek is that we would have a committee of representation from both our city and their city that would meet, I think it said once a year. I would probably recommend that we meet more frequently, but
6 months.
yeah, and I know, Ryan, you were gonna look at that and how we establish that, committee and also those ongoing meetings to facilitate conversation regarding that plan. Can you?
Yeah, I have reached out to Edgerton and suggested that occur. They are in agreement that occur. So ultimately, we need to appoint representatives of that committee and then get together. That there is a kind of an imminent issue to be addressed, which is a rate study. And so we also had discussions with Edgerton representatives about that being a first agenda item. So yes, I've reached out to them through their city attorney and their agreement. So
Okay.
We probably need to move forward with appointing appropriate representatives to that. It's referred to as a task force in the document, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know we've got, I never participated in any of the things up until Mayor Roberts left his employment with the city of Gardner. So I'll be glad to participate in that. I mean, is there anybody else it'd be nice to have somebody that's worked with the Edgerton folks already
Well,
that would be
yeah.
interested.
I think we should have the ex officio member of the utility, street street sidewalks and stormwater committee on that particular.
Sure.
Okay, I don't have any problem with that. Rich?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay.
Also, part of that was, our staff people meeting as they're supposed to be per contract as well? I mean, are there, Michael?
I could let Gons talk to this, but I believe that Scott Milholland, our wastewater plant superintendent, I know he has conversations with their superintendent. I'm not sure that, how formal those are or the types of communication.
Okay, great.
And Gons may have more information, obviously.
Okay.
I know that Scott has a ongoing conversation with the superintendent in Edgerton, and it's a very positive and outgoing conversation they have. So he could be a good candidate for being part of that committee or.
Okay. Thanks. And then lastly, and we've talked about this often, and I really want us to get something concrete scheduled consistently, is some joint meetings between some of the partner organizations, the school district, the city of Edgerton, and the fire district. I think that, I don't know who really owns this per se, but I keep hearing a lot of activity going on, and so I just think that those would be beneficial, and I think we really need to get something concrete scheduled. Those that can attend can attend. It's not like everybody has to be there at every meeting, but I think we should have a consistent quarterly. I don't know what the right time frame is. I would look for Cheryl, you and the superintendent and the fire chief maybe to get together and figure that out, but I really think it will be beneficial for everybody if we start having some joint, open meetings.
Probably County Commissioner Mike Brown at least, anyway.
Yep.
And we could see if they wanted to bring somebody from county manager's staff or something like that. And yes, I've heard this from the fire chief. I've heard this from in conversations that I've had with the president at the Board of Education. I've heard this with Don Roberts, but nobody seems to have taken the initiative on it. So, Cheryl, let's take the initiative on it.
Yep, I agree. And if you want council representation on any of those commissions, I'll make myself available for that.
Okay. Christie, anything?
The last thing, and I'll just kind of reiterate what Lee said in regards to the chief. Me personally, I have never privately or publicly heard anybody have anything but positive things to say regarding any interaction with the chief personally. I haven't heard anything negative from any of the officers who seem to be fully supportive of all the changes that have happened, the positive changes that have happened. I understand that there's things that don't move fast enough in some cases. I mean, we've had conversations about the police department and, you know, how is it fair that, you know, the police have to work in those conditions. I get it. We all get it. We purchase land and are trying to move forward. So I hope that there's that realization as well, that is really due to the value I think that this council and the community does put on the police department. I, for one, 100% agree with Lee with the event that happened on January 3rd. I think most of us were shocked, frankly, and I will say probably me more so than everyone, because I was the one that kind of triggered the ask for the explanation of what was happening. So I think hindsight, everybody could have handled that differently. I apologize for not doing that, but hopefully that you understand the value and the worth that is absolutely placed on that department. So.
Yes, two things. Real quick, I did want to address something, Rich, you said. You mentioned something about you felt like you were personally being not trusted on that, and I don't think that was the case. I think it was just whoever it was on the other end, not you personally, but I do think should we put this as a discussion or an agenda item to talk about that and make sure we're all on the same track with that? Well, I don't care which way it is, one or the other, to be honest, but should we?
I think it's part of what we need to discuss as an inclusion into the governing body rules of procedure as clarification at a minimum.
Yeah.
I think that's my own thinking, is that, you know, as we're looking at making some changes to the rules of procedure, we had discussed those before, that would be something we would want to have clarified and have a hard and fast rule regarding that, so that there is nothing misconstrued in any of those communications, whether it's in executive session or out here on the dais. Personally, I don't have a problem with having people dialing into executive session, but that's just me, and part of it's because of the fact it's our responsibility as council members to maintain confidentiality. If I hear something in executive session and I go out of that chambers and I blab to somebody, guess whose fault that is? It's my fault. I'm the one breaching confidentiality. I'm putting the city at liability risk. I'm the one who's taking personal risk of my own type of lawsuit happening against my person. So from that perspective, you know, we're in these positions on this dais for a reason. All right, we are custodians of the public trust. Trust being the word. All right. If we can't be trusted to keep confidentiality in executive session, then how the heck would the people in this audience or the people out in the city trust us with these seats? And that's really what it comes back to for me, and why I think it would be okay to have somebody dialing in, but that's just me.
Is that consensus from the council
Consensus what?
to study this as well as some other changes to the governing body rules of procedure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have conference
Todd?
calls
Yes.
all the time.
And then, again, I'll follow everyone else, but I do want to apologize. It was not appropriate that night. We were all caught off guard, and I did make my opinions known. But we certainly do absolutely appreciate everything you've done. I was here when it was a smaller town, serving on here with Chief Francis, and it was great at the time. But I think things have certainly, as Gardner has grown, I think our police department has grown and matured as well, and so we appreciate it. That's it.
Steve?
Just a couple things. First of all, I am very heartened at the turnout tonight. I wish we had every single meeting like this, where people come out and are passionate about an issue or multiple issues about the community. We had a budget meeting last year, and 5 people showed up. And I think one of them was a governing body member. So I'm glad to see that people are in this room. I'd love to see them come out for things as critical to the community as a budget. But this is great, and I appreciate everybody's time taken to come out here. In the same vein, I'm probably going to parrot everybody else on this, but Chief Pruding, I've had the privilege of not only having observed him in action and his staff in action within the community, but also had chances to speak with him just on general policing issues. And I'll tell you, the guy has a tremendous wealth of knowledge. He's very professional, very results-directed, which is a very a good thing to see. And I think someone else mentioned it in a public comment that, how often do we have, in this day and age, when we have such animosity towards the men in blue, have a group of people come out in support of our police, in support of our law enforcement of the community. That says volumes right there. And from that perspective, I'd like to thank Chief and his group, his professional staff. I've had a chance to speak with other police officers, and they'd run through a wall for this man. And that tells you everything you need to know. And appreciate his service and appreciate the efforts of the police department. That's all I have. Thanks.
Well, I'm going to echo the sentiments of the other members of the council. I'm going to point out that, what happened in the January 3rd meeting was, even for City of Gardner City Council meetings, uncharted territory. There were other members of the governing body that say they got caught flat-footed here.
I think I said, excuse me?
I got caught flat-footed as well. And I can speak directly to the fact that as some of the comments were winding down, once I was getting my wits about me, I did indeed ask Chief to not right now. I used his given name, called him Jim, asked him about that later in his office over at the police department. You didn't have a problem with it, isn't that correct? Again, I was in kind of uncharted territory, and we've got a familiar relationship. Councilmember Harrison, myself, City Administrator Harrison Lee, Rob Shippey, and Ginny Lively all participated in the selection process for the police chief. And there isn't anybody that's a member of the governing body, city staff, that will not be better off if we have a police chief that is successful and a police department that is successful as well. Our police department has been very successful over a long period of time. I've done ride-alongs. I've toured the station. Actually, I've done 2 ride-alongs. In 2011, I voted against a budget that didn't give Chief Ken Francis all the officers that he wanted. And I was, I believe, the only person that did so. I believe in supporting our law enforcement professionals. And I think that through the years, I've shown that repeatedly. The amount of spending that the City of Gardner, the governing body, that has made available to the police department has increased since 2011, 33%. And that doesn't happen by accident. And some of that increase happened while Chief Francis was still here, and we had some changeover in leadership. Some of that happened when the previous chief was here, and some of that's happened while Chief Pruding's here. Our law enforcement professionals are to be lauded and applauded for the job they do for us day in, day out. I've said on many occasions that there's never been a time that I've felt like I was in danger in Gardner, Kansas. It remains the same to this day. But as a side note, we have, my power's never been out more than a couple of hours. I've never got anything but clean water, and I've never been able to not flush my toilet. The streets, we've done our best to keep them good, and we're doing much better in improving them. I tell you what, the finance and accounting staff doesn't generally face a whole lot of dangerous situations, but I can tell you that the people
Auditors.
the people that approach the utility billing counter will sometimes be very angry and very abusive. Same thing with the municipal court counter, which of course also reports to not just the police department, but to the finance and accounting department. We're 140 plus employees strong here in in Gardner, and I value you all, and especially with this crowd of police officers here, I value you in no small measure. And I thank you for coming out tonight, and I thank the citizens for coming out tonight. And even taking a couple of shots on the chin, I'd rather have you here participating in your city government than, I don't know, lobbing bombs on social media. So if you've got a gripe, bring it here, and, I feel like I need to apologize to Bruce. So, Bruce, I'm sorry that you had to come out tonight because I wasn't quick enough on the draw with the gavel. Now, lessons have been learned because of this. Since I took over as mayor, all I've used the gavel for is to convene meetings, adjourn meetings, recess into executive session, or return. And honestly, we're going to keep a lot closer eye on what goes on, because this has been a teachable moment. And so, am I going to have to go for the gavel? Yeah. Don't want to. Didn't have to this evening. But I look forward to continuing to serve all of the people of Gardner, because that's what all of us here do, whether we're employees or elected officials. And that is all I have to say about that, unless somebody else has something for the...
Yeah, I just wanted to ask respectfully that we have these letters included within the minutes, so that they're posted with the minutes.
Did you get a copy?
And again, I echo the mayor's comments. We respect all of the employees of the city. They do a lot of it's a thankless job all the way around. So.
So that will do it for council updates. We're going to move on to executive session. I'm thinking 30 minutes?
Is this with the update for me, or is that?
We'll talk about what we're talking about in executive session when we get in there, sir. So.
Well, I just want to make sure 30 minutes is enough, that's why I asked.
Well, actually, we come back for extra time in executive session all the time.
Yeah, understood.
Okay. Cheryl, do you think that's going to be sufficient? Okay. I would entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Moore, second Winters, that we hold an executive session to discuss personnel matters relating to non-elected personnel, recessing at 8:29, returning at 8:59. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? We stand in recess, see? Do use it.
Yep.
I'd entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Schutz, second Winters, that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Regular session is back. I'd entertain a motion, to recess
Point
in,
of order? Did we want to dismiss?
I figured I'd talk to them after.
Okay, all right,
Thanks. Entertain a motion to, recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters relating to non-elected personnel, leaving at 9:01, coming back at 10:01. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? We stand in recess. Cheryl, with the council updates done, we need to keep staff members here. Vaya con Dios.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Entertain a motion to resume regular session.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Shoot that we resume regular session. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We're back in regular session. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Moore, second Harrison, that we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, we are adjourned.